Okay, we're back. This is Tony again from Lexington, Kentucky, and this is part 3 of cycling the A1A from Fernandina Beach or the Georgia-Florida line to Key West. Now, in the previous 2 sections, I talked about what to take. In the second section, I talked about the first 5 stages, and in this last part here, we're going to talk about the last 4 stages. This is Juno Beach to Key West. So, day 6, we went from Juno Beach to Fort Lauderdale, 60 miles. It was a little rough riding out of Juno. We had a really strong crosswind, and we noticed that we were struggling to keep 13 miles an hour for a lot of the ride. That's hard to do when you're used to doing at least a couple more miles an hour. So just be prepared for that kind of thing. It's going to happen at least 1 out of 9 or 10 days, but you just work around and do the best you can. Now, I've got down here that it was absolutely beautiful once you pass Riviera Beach. And my advice was to take Flagler Road in Riviera Beach. Okay, there are many nice lanes. You go through a lot of big mansions and things like that, yachts. Basically what you're doing is going from Palm Beach there to Fort Lauderdale. Palm Beach is gorgeous for those of you who have never been down through there. There aren't houses like that anywhere in the eastern half of the U.S., in the southern eastern half of the U.S., in such a big area. But Palm Beach is very pretty. There are not many places to stop for anything in this stretch. Okay, even though you've got a lot of residences, there aren't a lot of little stores in this area, probably because property values are so high. So get drinks and snacks while you can. Okay, if you see a store, get them. If not, you may have to go over to the A1A. But this is commercial and residential all the way, 60 miles, nothing but houses and condo hotels and things like that. So you won't have any problem, if something bad were to happen, finding people around you. Now, day 7 is Fort Lauderdale to Homestead. We're starting to get pretty hot, okay? We're starting to get pretty hot and we're starting to get pretty humid. 72-mile ride from Fort Lauderdale to Homestead. Very slow out of Fort Lauderdale through Miami. There are way too many lights and there were way too many cars. It was an extremely dangerous area in terms of having to get in and out of traffic, and we found it to be the unfriendliest area to bicycles on the whole A1A. Butler Boulevard, we took Butler Boulevard. Take it. It is an absolutely gorgeous road. It's beautiful. It's shady. We should have probably taken Ocean Boulevard through Miami, as the A1A is so heavily trafficked. And when we were going through, the A1A in this section of Miami did not have bike lanes. So we were actually on that little section where the asphalt almost meets the curb, and that's a great way to clip a pedal on the curb and end up out in the middle of traffic underneath the semi. But just pay attention to what you're doing, and I advise most people to keep 1 foot in, clipped in, and 1 foot out. Okay, that's probably the easiest way to ride on some of that, because it is flat. You don't need all of the pressure that you get when you clip in both legs, both shoes. I'm sorry. Because you have to stop so many times. Okay. Again, that's Fort Lauderdale to Homestead. Now, Homestead, day 8 or stage 8, we did Homestead to Islamorada. We were moving at a really high rate of speed for us. But once you get out past Florida City, there is nothing. Okay, it's not Alligator Alley, because Alligator Alley runs across the state over to Naples, but you would think it. It is nothing but basically kind of scrubby, Everglades stuff for many miles. The lane is clean and it's very well paved on the highway, but on the southbound side there is no shade at all. And that is something to be aware of when you spend day after day in the sun, that you start looking for shade in different places. There's no shade on the southbound lane. Okay, we left in the morning. Probably wouldn't have made any difference what time we left. It's just a hot, desolate road. It's a nice road, but there's not a lot out there. Now we also used the bike path for many of these miles, but after the one turned into 4-lane, after the US 1 turned into a 4-lane road. The bike path was shaded in the AM, even though it gets a little rough. And there's really only one bridge in this whole route, and that's onto Key Largo. Okay, but one thing to remember when you're doing this route on the A1A, the bridges they're welcomed and not. It's good to get off your butt and stand up a hill, but at the same time they're usually very windy and they're usually loud. There's usually a lot of traffic going across them, and they're oftentimes not clean, meaning the bike lanes are full of debris. So just a couple things to be aware of there. The last stage here, day 9, was a 69-mile stage from Islamorada to Key West. Now we actually stopped and stayed the night at a friend's place in Cudjoe Key. Not everybody has friends in Cudjoe Key. I don't. My father did. So we were lucky enough to get a place there, but there are tons of hotels all along the way. Another thing, the Grassy Key Bike Trail. Get on that. Okay, that is for all styles of bikes. Very, very nice. Okay, the Grassy Key Bike Trail. And whatever you do, don't make the mistake we did. We did not know that the old number 7 bridge goes nowhere. It is extremely bumpy. We rode down about 2.5 to 3 miles and then had to come back. It'll tear your bike to pieces. It's bumpy as it can be. There's no sense in taking it other than just saying you did it. I would advise just buying the bumper sticker to support the effort to keep it from being destroyed, because it is pretty neat to look at. It's the original bridge. But other than that, don't go over it. Excuse me. Again, very little shade. You're going to go over lots of bridges now. Okay, most of these are going to have 3 to 5 foot shoulders. They're also going to have low barriers on the side, and you got to be careful about low barriers, because the barrier, the wall between you and falling 50 feet into the ocean is only a few feet high. So if you get too close to it and you have some kind of accident, you're probably going to go over it. So just be aware that those barriers are low, but just keep your concentration straight and you should be fine. Okay. There are a number of campgrounds and RV grounds, but you also go lots of long stretches without any stores or gas stations. So again, stop when you can. Okay, 9 days, 9 stages. Fernandina Beach to Key West. The total mileage came to 557 miles. Okay, I hope this helps. Feel free to write any comments. I know this is probably boring. I don't have a lot of pictures on it, but at least you should be able to get a good starting point in planning your trip. And then, of course, make it your own when you do it yourself, and you'll have a great time. It's one of the best things my dad and I ever did together, and very happy that we both made it out. All right, take care. We'll see you later.